Joseph Theodore Grozelle, known to family and friends as Joe, was born on September 11, 1982, to Ron and Minnie. At 21, Joe was in his third year as an officer cadet at the Royal Military College in Kingston, Ontario. A respected and accomplished individual, Joe was a varsity basketball player and honor roll student and an academic All-Canadian. He was admired by his peers and deeply loved by his family. But in October 2003, his life was tragically cut short under mysterious circumstances. On October 22, 2003, Joe was in his dorm room with his girlfriend, working on an assignment due the next day. At 1 a.m., she fell asleep, and when she woke up around 5:30 a.m., he was strangely gone. He left behind his keys, cell phone, and wallet and failed to attend classes and basketball practice later that day. His behavior before disappearing was described as calm and composed, with no indication of distress or unusual activity. Once Joe's family was made aware of the situation, they quickly reported him missing, prompting a massive search effort involving military personnel, law enforcement, and volunteers. 22 days later, his body was tragically found in the Kwiatek River, a short distance from the college campus. The autopsy revealed troubling details. Joe had unexplained injuries, including bruises on his nose and lip, a chipped tooth, and a bruise on his arm, which some believe indicates he was involved in a struggle. His shoes were still on, but some of his clothing, including his belt, was missing, and to this day has not been found. Experts noted that the state of his body's decomposition didn't align with being submerged for 22 days, suggesting he may not have been in the water for the entire time he was missing. Even more perplexing was the discovery of a full meal in his stomach, the origin of which remains unknown. Regardless, they ruled that he took his own life by drowning. In the fall of 2004, his body was exhumed, and a second autopsy was performed. The cause of death was then revised to unascertained. A year later, in November 2005, it was announced that the Ontario Provincial Police had ruled out foul play. This was extremely devastating for Joe's family, who felt that there were still many unanswered questions. Most notable was the fact that there was no water found in his lungs, leading many to believe his body was placed in the river after death, raising suspicions of a cover-up. That same year, surveillance footage was discovered of 4 individuals who had walked away from campus at 1:10 a.m. and returned 40 minutes later on the same morning Joe disappeared. However, those individuals could never be identified. They also looked into a graduate of RMC who still maintained a presence on campus and provided financial services to cadets. He apparently had unrestricted access on campus and was even accused of making sexual advances towards some of the male students. The college then tried to ban him from the campus, but he continued to show up. They then discovered that he had several sexual encounters with some of the male students. He was questioned in 2003, but nothing ever came of it. Investigators tried again in 2005, but still came up empty-handed. He was found dead on November 13, 2003, and as of December 2024, his family continues to seek answers, and this case remains unsolved. Kelly Lynn Camargo was born in Hamilton, Ohio on October 22, 1976. At 16, she was described as friendly, quiet, and a bit naive. She had a creative side, expressing herself through poems she called her songs. Kelly was set to start her junior year at Hamilton High School in just a week, but her life was tragically cut short before she had the chance. Unbeknownst to her mother, Kelly had started associating with an older, rowdier crowd. On the evening of August 21, 1993, she told her mother, Donna, that she planned to go to a pool hall in Fairfield with some girlfriends. Instead, Kelly and her friends ended up in the parking lot of PJ Shooters, a bar located on South Erie Highway in Hamilton. Once there, her friends went inside so that one of them could see her boyfriend. This unfortunately left Kelly alone outside. During this time, she caught the attention of several older girls from her school who came out to check on her, concerned about her safety. However, she also caught the attention of an unidentified man whom her friends didn't recognize. the man exited the bar, approached Kelly, and struck up a conversation. He asked her to drive him to a nearby store to buy cigarettes, and she agreed. One of her friends offered to accompany her, but she said no, assuring them she knew the man and would be right back. Sadly, that was the last time they ever saw her alive. Later that night, Kelly was reportedly seen at the Camden Bar on East Central Avenue. Witnesses claimed she left with a group of people, but her whereabouts after that remains unclear. By 3 a.m., PJ Shooter's parking lot was crowded with worried teens and young adults looking for Kelly. When her mother reported her missing the following day, the police brushed her disappearance off as that of a runaway or troubled teen. However, determined to find answers, her mother began going around town with a large photo of Kelly, asking anyone she encountered if they had seen her. 2 weeks later, a father and son, hiking near the Rush Run Wildlife Area, made a grim discovery. Hidden under a pile of brush in a wooded area just a few miles from PJ Shooter's was Kelly's decomposed remains. Due to the level of decomposition, the cause of death could not be determined, but authorities ruled her death a homicide. Over the years, new details about that night have surfaced, but the truth remains elusive. Some believe multiple people know exactly what happened, but have chosen not to come forward. Rumors have circulated that Delmer Vickers Jr., who pleaded guilty to the beating death of Doug Sinners, is responsible for Kelly's death. He had even allegedly bragged about being involved in her murder. However, no evidence has corroborated these claims, and Vickers has not been officially connected to Kelly's case. Similarly, Glenn Edward Rogers, the so-called cross-country killer, has been speculated as a potential suspect due to his activity in the area during the early 1990s. However, just like Vickers, there is no definitive evidence linking him to the case. In 2015, the Preble County Sheriff's Department submitted DNA evidence to the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, hoping that advancements in forensic technology might provide a breakthrough, but it never did. Kelly's mother, Donna Camargo, devoted her life to seeking justice for her daughter. She tragically passed away on November 11, 2024, at the age of 74, without ever finding out who murdered her daughter. Kelly was murdered on August 21, 1993, and as of December 2024, this case remains unsolved. Nanci Lee Britner, born on October 13, 1977, was a devoted mother of 4 and grandmother to 13. At 45, she lived in the 400 block of North Kent Street in Winchester, Virginia. Known for her selflessness and devotion to her family, Nanci had a warm, caring personality that touched everyone around her. Having been sober for a year, she was focused on her health and spent most of her time doting on her loved ones. On June 28, 2023, Nanci's day began like any other. She picked up a box of food from Victory Church and delivered it to her ill sister, Betsy Chavez, who was staying at the Relax Inn on Valley Avenue while undergoing cancer treatment. This act of kindness was characteristic of Nanci, who frequently checked in on Betsy to ensure her well-being. Later that day, she visited her daughter, Kelsey Britner, and 3 of her grandchildren, something she often did. Before leaving around 6 p.m., she expressed her love for them and promised she'd return later. Sadly, that was the last time her daughter would ever see her again. That evening, Nanci returned to the Relax Inn to check on Betsy again, arriving around 11:30 p.m. Before midnight, Nanci began contacting people for a ride home. Among those she reached out to was her boyfriend, who was working a shift at a nearby 7-Eleven. Although she had the option to stay overnight at the motel, Nanci was eager to return home because her son and his children were coming in for a visit, something they had been planning for a while. Nanci left her sister's room, locked the door, and was never seen again. She also stopped responding to all calls and text messages. She never made it home, and when her family discovered this the following day, they quickly reported her missing. Investigators checked both her prepaid cell phones, but they were both turned off and last pinged to an undisclosed location in Frederick County, Virginia. Searches of the area and public appeals for information have yielded little progress, leaving Nanci's family in a state of agonizing uncertainty. At the time of her disappearance, Nanci stood 5'4" with brown hair and eyes and had several distinctive tattoos. She went missing on June 28, 2023, and as of December 2024, she has not been found, and this case remains unsolved. Teresa Lynn Town Woolard was born on April 22, 1968. At 48, Teresa lived at Kings Lane Apartments in Burton, Michigan, and was the mother of 2 daughters. She had struggled with addiction in the past, but was reportedly clean in 2016. She was described as a private individual, dependable, and close to her family, especially her children. On December 5, 2016, an unknown person, possibly Teresa, called 911 from her apartment for an unknown reason. When officers arrived, Teresa wasn't there, but witnesses claimed they saw her walking with an unknown man west along Hemp Hill Road away from her apartment building, following the 911 call. After that, she was never heard from again. She left behind her wallet, phone charger, and even her cigarettes, which meant she likely planned to return home. 6 days later, on December 11th, a text message was sent to one of Teresa's daughters from her phone, but there's no way to know if it was actually her sending the text. Also, her phone pinged in downtown Frankenmuth, Michigan. Over the next 2 months, further pings were detected in downtown Lapeer and Davison, Michigan, showing that someone clearly had the phone. Unfortunately, the phone was never found. The man she was seen walking with on the day of her disappearance has never been identified. Some speculate that she may have owed someone money and was met with foul play because of it, but that's only a theory. Teresa disappeared on December 5, 2016, and as of December 2024, she has never been found, and this case remains unsolved. William Kwiatek, who went by Bill, was born on December 5, 1945. At 43, he lived in northwest Calgary, Alberta, and worked in construction an hour away in Canmore. Despite his hardworking nature, Bill was facing significant challenges in his personal life. He was in a volatile and abusive relationship, and police had been called to his home multiple times for disturbance complaints. However, details about his domestic partner and the circumstances surrounding these incidents have not been publicly disclosed. In July 1988, Bill made the decision to move to Canmore. He began packing his things and putting his personal belongings into plastic bags. He was reportedly last seen hitchhiking toward Canmore, consistent with his plans to sell his truck. His last confirmed sighting, however, was nearly 2 hours north in Caroline, significantly off course from his intended destination of Canmore. At the time of his disappearance, Bill stood 5'11" and had brown hair, a beard, and a mustache. He bore several distinctive features, including 6 to 8 drill holes in his skull from a previous neck injury, a partially amputated left ring finger, and multiple tattoos. A Star of David on his left hand, the words hate and love tattooed across his knuckles, and an unfinished eagle on his right forearm. Bill also struggled with alcohol abuse, cognitive challenges stemming from past injuries, and a poor memory, which sometimes caused him to speak in an unusual manner. Bill went missing in July of 1988, and as of December 2024, he has not been found, and this case remains unsolved.